Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we celebrate films we think are underrated, underseen, or maybe even both. I'm the host, Josh Hallam, and I'm tackling another one of your brilliant listener suggestions this week. Steve got in touch to suggest we took a look at Running Scared from 1986. So spoiler warnings if you've not seen it. Whilst I've got you, if you could head on over to wherever you're listening to this or watching this, if the opportunity's there, if the function's there, if you could give us a lovely rating and review, I'd be massively, massively appreciated. It helps other people find us. It should only take a second of your time. But listen, it's great that you're listening. Really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's have a look. As I said, Steve got in touch to suggest we took a look at Running Scared from 1986. If you want to get in touch and suggest a film, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You can even send us a voice note if you'd like. Steve hasn't sent us a voice note, but he has been in touch via Twitter to suggest we took a look at Running Scared. So if you haven't seen it, Steve says, "Hi, my name is Steve from Grays in Essex." Lovely part of the world, Steve. Lovely part of the world. One of my very dear friends lives near there. I've nominated Running Scared from 1986, starring Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines, to be reviewed because I feel it is heavily underrated film, which I've heard barely anyone talk about. It's my favourite buddy cop comedy. High praise indeed. Crystal and Hines have a fantastic chemistry together and conveniently bounce off each other with such ease. Joe Pantoliano also stars in this film, and it's a huge highlight with his performance. There are also some hilariously brilliant and hilarious quotes in this film as well. It's truly a hidden 80s classic. So I think what Steve there is saying it's underrated. Possibly in the scene as well, but we'll have a look at both. I think he's saying it's underrated more than anything there, but we always look at both. So in terms of going into this then, I hadn't even heard of this one, to be honest. There are multiple films called Running Scared, and I actually think people have suggested the other one, which I think has got Paul Walker in it, but this is the one from 1986. I saw this in our list of listener suggestions, and I picked it out for a couple of reasons. We've done quite a few heavy films recently, so I thought it was about time we did something a bit lighter. I'd not heard of this. I didn't think we'd done a Billy Crystal film before. We certainly hadn't done a Gregory Hines film before, because unfortunately he passed away quite young and he didn't actually make that many films. So yeah, a bit more lighthearted. So I was interested to give this one a watch. I was quite excited by this one because I like a buddy cop film. I'm doing a big fan of like the Lethal Weapon films and things like that. Let's get stuck in there. So if you've not listened before, we always do the likes, move on to the dislikes, then we'll have a look at that critical reception and box office and decide, is it underrated or is it underseen? So what did I like then? Well, I thought there was loads to like here, to be honest, Steve. I had a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, this film. I think it's everything you want from both genres. I think it really excels in the way it uses genre, both action and comedy. So I think for a buddy cop comedy to be good, it's got to be strong in the action, strong in the comedy, and strong in the chemistry. And this has that trilogy. It has all three of those films. All three of those elements to it. It's got some great action in there, some real, action done properly as well, practical effects, great stunts, great shootouts, couple of good car chases. It's particularly really good one in the middle where there's sort of a car chase that ends up on a train track. It's really, really good, some great action in there. And more importantly as well for me, and as well, the comedy works really well. It does not take itself too seriously. It's not dour. And it is all in the chemistry between Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal, to be honest with you. There's some great comedy from them. As Steve says, they've got great chemistry. They bounce off each other really well. Loads of good wisecracking, loads of sarcasm, loads of stuff around how petty and how childish they are with each other. It's all that sort of thing of, they're cops, but they don't do things in the orthodox way, and they get a lot of good comedy from that, really. So lots of good stuff in there with the comedy. Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines are great in this. They're both so likable. I get the impression they did quite a lot of the action as well, quite physical in some of their performance. They do work really well. They're both so likable, and it works really well together. It's really naturalistic in its look and its delivery. It's quite unpolished. It's quite raw. It captures that element of the time in terms of economic downturn, depression, really, really well in inner city Chicago, and I thought that was that's juxtaposed against the lightheartedness, but I thought it worked really well. And there's that, it brings that layer of kind of laughing in the face of adversity type thing. I thought that worked really well. Some interesting ideas in there as well. So the whole thing is obviously because the police officers and they're kind of I think they're meant to be in their 40s. they're coming up for retirement, and there's these ideas of they think the grass is greener. They're looking at retiring to Florida and buying a bar and things like that, and it sort of becomes whether they will or won't retire. And there's some interesting ideas around like almost what happens to someone when they decide to retire. Being too careful as a burden, being too careful as almost sickness, and making making you kind of vulnerable to mistakes and injury and things like that. So, and those concerns then becoming reality. I thought that worked really, really well. And again, loads of loads of great comedy from that as well. In terms of the dislikes, it's a bit aimless in places. It's sort of, I get the impression that they've allowed the two leads, Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal, to really riff and with each other and improvise. And that brings a lot of comedy, and they breathe a lot of life into it. But in terms of the plot, it's almost like the plot doesn't matter. The cop's going after a drug dealer, but really it's about them. So it does feel a bit aimless in terms of a narrative, even though things do happen. I think for me, it's probably because nowadays this would probably be more of a TV show than a film. And that does happen now, particularly with the advocacy of streaming and how that works. It is, you get the impression where things are more of a TV show. And that's certainly this. It's a dislike only in the sense that it's just a touch aimless. There's a few things where it almost feels like a Judd Apatow film in that the chemistry between the cast carries it, and it's what makes it work. But they allow a little bit too much of it. A little bit goes a long way, and it's still okay to have a solid script and have some solid editing in there as well. But you know what? It does work really well in terms of that chemistry. Other than that, it's a little bit dated in terms of style. As I say, it's got that very distinct, unpolished style, which now does speak again to that more TV program, a TV sitcom type thing rather than film. And it does look very raw and things like that. But it's not dated in terms of it being offensive. It's just like it starts and it's like, bam, you're in the 80s, man. You're well in the 80s. Remember the 80s, or welcome to the 80s, or this is what the 80s look like. And it is very much that. So if you like the 80s, which I did, I wasn't alive, but if you like 80s films, like Beverly Hills Cop and some of the Lethal Weapons and things like that, it does work really well. It's just dated in that sort of, that very distinct, unpolished style mixed with the quite high concept, synth-driven music. It's quite discombobulating, really, especially if you weren't around at the time. But you know what? Nothing too big on the dislikes. Critical reception then. So I think we're saying Steve thinks it's underrated and underseen, but looking at the scores, just to remind you of the structure if you've not listened before, we take the IMDb score, we take the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, we take the Rotten Tomatoes critics score, we average them out, and we have a little look at the box office to see if it's underrated or underseen as well. Over on IMDb, it gets a 6.5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes give it quite a harsh audience score of 58%. Critics give it 63, so not too dissimilar to what the IMDb score is. That averages out at 62%. I think that's pretty underrated. I think this is a solid 7, if not a bit higher film. It does all the good things that you want from comedy, all the good things you want from action. Chemistry between the two leads is great. Switch your brain off, really, really works. It's light-hearted. It's a good blockbuster in that sense. It's definitely underrated. Box office-wise, made 38 million. Again, wouldn't sniff at 38 million quid, but that probably is pretty underseen. Certainly now. I don't think I hear many, like Steve said in his message, I don't hear many people talking about it now. I hadn't heard of it. So I'd say, yeah, I think it reminded me of things we've done on the podcast, like Freebie and the Bean or Hollywood Homicide, in terms of underrated and underseen buddy cop films, action comedies. But this is probably a little bit better, actually. It's probably a cut above those two. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for suggesting it, Steve. I'm going to give this an underrated and underseen. There we go then. Another one in the bag, Running Scared. If you like an 80s film, if you like an action cop, buddy cop, action comedy, give it a watch. I think it's well worth your time. All that remains to be said is that we'll be back next week with another episode. If you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. On all the social medias, if you just search for Just Films and That on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or Letterboxd, you'll find us. Give us a follow. We're always putting stuff out there. Do feel free to send us a DM with your film suggestion, and we'll add it to the list. Everything you need is in the show notes. Click the link tree. That'll take you to wherever you want to go. Thank you so much for listening. It's goodbye from me. Cheerio.